Looking at what you and I, even though you've got a nursing background and I'm like extensive, and I've got an extensive background in nutrition and personal training, we're still in the learning process. I mean, this whole vagus nerve conversation topic has become incredibly and increasingly popular over the last probably 8 to 10 months. I knew of the vagus nerve, but I did not know the extent of the role that the vagus nerve plays. And so when these shiny objects come out, like peptides and, even the conversation of hormone replacement therapy, protein versus carbs, the carnivore diet, the keto diet, the Mediterranean diet, you know, metabolic this, insulin resistant that whole conversation, GLP-3 now, as they're calling the peptides. At the end of the day, everything that is being taken, the vagus nerve is the carrier. It's the communication. It's the thing that's going to travel that little thing that you're putting in your body to where it needs to go in your body.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. If your vagus nerve is dysregulated, then nothing in the body is going to work properly. I mean, you have to balance that. I say all the time. You tell me, what is that saying that you say, Kendra, all the time? Like, we have to prepare the canvas like an artist. You have to prepare the canvas for the masterpiece. You have to do the same thing with your body or all that other stuff. It may work temporarily, but are you truly fixing what is wrong in your body?
Right. Yeah. And people want a quick fix, and that's where we are in today's society. But, that quick fix is not sustainable.
Mm-hmm.
If you can actually really, truly fix the root cause, as you say all the time with, Nurse Kendra, you're going to have the results. You're going to have the results that last longer. I mean, look at how many people that we know personally that have been on the weight loss shots. I know people that they went on the shots, they didn't work at all. I know people that lost a tremendous amount of weight to the point where they look really unhealthy because they've not just lost the weight, but they've lost lean muscle mass. And then I know people that have gotten sick and almost died. Mm-hmm. I know people that are afraid to come off of the shot because they know they're going to gain the weight back. And why is that?
Well, because they haven't fixed the issue. And then what they're putting in their bodies is causing such detriment that now their bodies are not working properly the way God intended them to do because of the poison, excuse my French, of what they just put in their body. They're shutting down their metabolic system. They're shutting down their gastrointestinal tract. Like, I know people that have had food sitting in their stomach for months and wonder why I have projectile vomiting and I'm wasting away.
Or what about, we know a few people that have gotten gangrene in their stomach because of the food that sits there and rots.
Mm-hmm. Gangrene, having to go on dialysis because now they have kidney failure. I mean, it's terrible. And like, yeah, most people want to lose weight. Why? Because the increased weight on your body causes that extra stress and then accentuates the health issues that you have, not that the weight is causing. Does that make sense? And so I don't think a lot of people understand that it's fat that they want to lose, not weight. And that fat is not necessarily the fat that we see on the outside. We talk all the time about visceral fat, and people, I don't know if they truly understand what that is that layer of fat that surrounds our organs, that's causing heart disease, that's causing, high blood pressure because it's built up in, the cardiovascular system, and you have lung problems
because causing inflammation.
Yeah.
Joint pain. Muscle pain. I mean, most of the pain that, look, and you and I talk about this all the time, is, you know, the biggest culprit of disease is inflammation and visceral fat.
Yep.
Like, so I'm 61, and my goal was always the scale, always, until now, until I've started to understand um what can happen when you support and create a healthy vagus nerve, what can happen from a visceral fat perspective and a losing the body fat perspective. Now I just want to feel healthy. I just want to feel good. I don't even pay attention to the scale, you
I really
know?
don't either. And I have people all the time, Babette, and you even say it. Oh my gosh, you're losing more weight. And I'm like, I'm not. The scale, if I truly step on it, and it's very far and few between anymore, because I was fixated on that. Most people are, because we were conditioned to look at the number on the scale to determine what's going on in our body, and that's such a lie.
Well, what do I talk about all the time? The weight loss industry is a marketing industry. It's not even a true, hey, let us help you lose weight. Let's just help you spend a lot of money on products that don't work, you
Mhm.
know? So,
Yeah. So right now, I think the trend everybody is chasing, like you said, you mentioned shiny objects, is because they want to lose the weight and they don't want to do anything else but take a product and rely on that to do the job. Right. And when it doesn't, then they just give up and then they go to something else instead of truly looking and go, what needs fixing on the inside of my body? So then all of those pieces fall into place.
yeah, I mean, look at our girl, Carrie. She stayed the course, and she stayed on the product that's, creating a healthy vagus nerve. And in 10 months, man, holy cannoli, she lost a whole person. But the better she started to feel, the more active she became. She picked up, playing pickleball, which I didn't even know that was a real sport.
And it's
um,
not throwing a pickle around.
because she's Yeah, exactly. But she started to feel better. And because she started to feel better, she became more active. She didn't just rely on a product to do all the work. She got into some physical activity because she allowed the product to help her get healthy. And her mindset was, if I focus on my health, the fat loss and the weight loss will come. It'll happen. And it did. And like she was surprised that she's gotten the results that she's gotten,
Mhm.
and I'm blown away by her before and after photos. Oh my gosh.
I am too. Oh my gosh. And I love the fact that the longer you are on this said product, the more your body fixes itself. That is key, I think, because if people don't see it working, within 2 weeks, let's just say, I know that's like unrealistic expectations, but even, oh, I've been on it for a month or I've been on it for 2 months and nothing's happening. Well, what were you expecting to happen? Because if it's weight loss by looking at the scale, no, that's not what you're gonna see. But if you're looking at better sleep, mood improvement, not feeling as hungry, losing inches, and you're only going to know that if you've um, measured and you've taken before pictures and during. That's where you and I, because I kept saying to you, yeah, I don't know. I just don't see it. And she was like, have you compared
I
pictures
know. I'm like,
lately?
girlfriend, go get your photos that you took before, because I see a huge difference. But that's the thing. Like, if I focused on the scale like I used to once upon a time, I haven't lost any weight, but it's body composition. So the fat to lean muscle ratio is reproportioning, not losing weight, but losing 20% body fat, gaining 10 pounds of muscle. Of course, the scale isn't going to necessarily budge because I'm gaining muscle while I'm losing the body fat.
Okay, so
I'll take
can
a
the
20% body fat loss over not losing any weight on the scale every stinking day of the week.
mm-hmm.
you know?
But let's talk about that. Could the scale actually go up?
Of
Could
course it
your
can.
clothes start to feel a little bit tight?
Of
If
course,
people don't
because
truly understand what's happening, they
yeah,
get discouraged and say, "Oh, it's not working. I'm going to quit."
because you can't measure what you don't track, and people aren't effectively tracking. All they're doing is relying on the scale. So they don't understand body composition. They don't understand the ratio between muscle and fat. And if they are relying only on the scale, they're not measuring, they're not doing body fat measurements. They're not tracking what's going on with their muscle mass during this process because, wow, we're burning visceral fat, we're increasing lean muscle mass. That's just the way the body works when you
Mhm.
actually, have a healthy vagus nerve, and people just don't understand that.
They don't.
You
They
know,
don't.
the metabolic system starts to fire back up, the body becomes less resistant to insulin, and the insulin in the body starts to work effectively and efficiently, you know?
So let's talk a little bit about, because I love this conversation and what's going on within our body with this said product, one plant extract, which is incredible. Um, let's talk about stored trauma and what happens when our nervous system starts to heal itself. Let's talk about that, because there are some things that can happen and people take that as a negative response to this plant extract.
Well, the thing is, when somebody goes through traumatic experiences in their life, whether it's an abusive parent, an abusive spouse, you know, some sort of thing that is outside of the realm of what would make you feel safe and healthy, let's face it. And then you kind of
Which is fight
need,
or flight.
right? Exactly. Safe and healthy would be rest and digest, and people not understanding how the nervous system works. But I can remember back in my 30s when I started, actually, it was in my late 20s, I started having panic attacks and night terrors. And I would, in my sleep, I would see this dark image, male image, kind of hover over my body, and I would wake up screaming. That was what was causing my night terrors at the time. And it felt like somebody was sitting on my chest. And I would wake up screaming, and then I would go into a panic attack. And if you've never had a panic attack, it's like you can't get out of your skin. You're trying to escape your own body, but you can't. And in your head, it feels like it's never going to end. It feels like it's going to last forever. Um, and this was happening to me for 35 years. But back when it started happening, I had a chiropractor tell me that it was my nervous system, but he didn't teach me about the vagus nerve. He didn't teach me about, fight or flight and rest and digest. All he said was the vagus nerve. And I went through this process where, I went for chiropractic treatment for a few months to address it. And maybe he didn't even know back then. Maybe he didn't understand the vagus nerve back then, and that's why he didn't say anything. But I had doctors, wanting to put me on antidepressants and, tried to plant a seed that perhaps maybe my father or one of my brothers had sexually abused me or whatever. And I'm like, no. But what happened was when I was 19 years old, I was married very young to a man that was a little bit older than me that started drinking and became physically abusive. He actually used to sit on top of me. That's where that
Mhm.
came from. So that stored trauma, I did not know all of these years where that stemmed from until I started learning, getting on this product. Now that I've been on the product a little over a year, but now I've been able to release that stored trauma, but also it affects you spiritually. If you're trapped in fight or flight, from a spiritual perspective, how many people say they can't feel God or they don't hear from God because their nervous system is stuck, right?
Yeah. So it's funny because I have not because of this most recent winter storm and a bit of shipping delays, I have not received my product for a bit. And we had enough
Same.
to where I could give my husband his dose because we were both taking it. So I haven't had it for probably the last 3 days. I take it twice a day typically, and I haven't for 3 days. And last night, I had the worst just anxiety. This sense of something bad was about to happen, and I couldn't put my finger on it. Like I had all this nervous energy inside of me, and I'm like, what is happening? And I'm like, this product, it's coming tomorrow, and I cannot wait. But it truly does help with that too. You know, my mood was so elevated when I very first started this, like you said, a little over a year ago. I was in a really bad spot. And one dose, I slept so good. And the next morning, I felt like this whole like fog had lifted, this weight had lifted, and I was joyful. And I didn't notice the heart palpitations and that anxious feeling anymore. And it's starting to come back. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I don't want that.
Yeah. Well, because your nervous system is getting dysregulated again. So,
I don't like it.
Yeah, same because of the storm. I've run out and not got my new order yet either. So, I mean, it cracks me up when people go, wait a minute, you can address your vagus nerve by humming or yawning. Well, yeah, for a few seconds, taking this product, right? Taking this product, it, maintains your healthy vagal tone for 9.5 hours. If you do it twice a day, then 19 hours, right? So let me see. Ice bath plunge or taking this product,
colorless, odorless, tasteless
right?
extract in any drink. Which one am I going to choose?
Yeah. Sorry, I'll go towards pleasure before I go towards pain any day of the week. So
absolutely.
And I don't know. I've never done an ice bath, but I've taken a cold shower, and that's not ever been fun. Not by choice, actually. But yeah, you could not pay me enough money to take an ice bath plunge.
No. I'm like, if you're watching
Maybe
this,
$1 million.
go Google it. Go Google the health benefits of taking a cold plunge. Look at that. And all of them are related to activating your vagus nerve. And one said product, an extract made from God, is doing that for 9.5 hours for thousands of people.
Well, here's what's interesting. There's too many people. And you and I talked about this recently. The weight loss industry is annoying me right now, to be honest with you, because there's too many people promoting products that, because it's attached to an income, and they're kind of sort of getting educated about the body and how it works because they want to be educated about the product that they're promoting, but it's doing a real big disservice to a lot of people that are trying to change their health and trying to change their weight. And they're running into that shiny object because they want the quick fix. And then when they don't get the results that they are looking for because they expect miracles to happen in 1.5 weeks, what do you talk about all the time with that time expectation of somebody who is looking for a timeline to get results? What do you talk about as a nurse?
It obviously has to take time to prepare the canvas. You have to, getting your body back into homeostasis takes time. And I do say, maybe this is where you were wanting me to go, is what have you done to your body prior to starting the journey of improvement, right? So how long did it take you to get to that point? You can't then expect a product, an exercise, and whatever to work immediately. You can't, that's unrealistic expectation. So you have to take into account, it probably took you over the course of 3, 4, 5 years, maybe, to end up where you are when you started and go, oh gosh, I need to make a change. And then you want that instantaneous result. Well, you can't have that from anything. You have to put the work. You have to let time and giving your body the things that it needs to heal itself the way God created over time.
Yeah. That's where I was wanting you to go,
Okay.
because that's the problem. We speak to so many people that, and maybe it's not their fault. Maybe they've had challenges in their family. Maybe they've had, health challenges with the spouse, or, they once upon a time gave themselves priority to take care of their health. And then I've been there. And then they put their own health on the back burner because they've got to take care of somebody else or everybody else. And then before you know it, 10 years has gone by and you don't recognize yourself in the mirror any longer.
Right.
Well, guess what? 10 years is a lot of time to do a lot of damage to the body. So, and they say that it's 1 month for every 1 year. So if you're trying to repair your body, you're trying to start getting healthy, you're trying to start to lose weight, the rule of thumb is you need to commit 1 month to every 1 year that your body has gained weight and got to that unhealthy state.
Mm-hmm.
And most people want it in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah, that's usually why, no, this isn't working, or,
Yeah.
yeah.
Man, look, I've got a really good friend of mine that, wants a product to do the thing. She doesn't want to have to change the diet. And she doesn't change the diet. And she gets frustrated because the product isn't doing the thing
Right.
that she felt was promised before she started taking the product. It doesn't work that way,
Mm-hmm. Well, let's face it, let's go there too, right? The foods that we eat now in the US specifically, I'm going to talk because we are based in the US, right? Are not the same foods that our ancestors, our grandparents, our great grandparents ate. They're not, because the soil is not the same.
Right.
The stuff that is in the air is not the same. The stuff that is in our water is not the same. The stuff that we put on our skin is not the same. Like, everything is full of toxins, y'all. So you can't expect the same results eating the same foods, you think, that our grandparents did, or, I'm getting organic. Well, do you truly know it's organic? What pesticides? Maybe they, it says no pesticides, but they've used something else. That soil is depleted, no matter
Well,
which way
not
you look
only
at it.
that, an organic farm may very well be next to a non-organic farm that is being sprayed, and those chemicals carry through the air. They don't just stay. It's like a pharmaceutical drug. You put a pharmaceutical drug to treat something, but it's affecting your entire body. It's not just going to that target area.
Or
So,
runoff. It goes into the water because when
yeah.
it rains, then that runs from that property to the organic farm. It's just, we don't get the same quality of food anymore. And so we have
No,
to then look to supplementation. What does the word supplement mean, Babette?
supplement what's missing from the diet,
Yeah.
right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
what people don't understand. Look, so I was born in the 60s. I know you were born, what year were you
69.
born?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 69. Um, so back in the 70s, obesity wasn't as prevalent in America as it is now, and for all of the reasons that you're talking about. I've never seen such a striking number of obesity in young children,
Mm-hmm. But
you
not
know?
only that, look at girls today. Look at how quickly that they are, developing breasts and going through their menstrual cycle so much earlier than normal.
I was 14 when I got my menstrual cycle,
Mm-hmm.
and I was devastated. I did not want that.
Yeah. No, I don't really want it. And I'm sure our children and grandchildren don't want it, but that's because of the stuff that they're pumping into our livestock. That the farmers, a lot of them are required to give certain vaccines to their livestock, y'all. And guess what? You're ingesting that.
Yeah. So we buy, I'm not a milk drinker, but I do use it because I love my cappuccinos, right? Got a cappuccino machine at home, but and there's a certain kind of I've tried a bunch of different milks. I prefer whole milk because if you go towards the low fat and the no fat, chemicals are used to remove the fat, so that's not healthy. It's kind of an oxymoron. But the milk that I do use is hormone free, synthetic free, and vaccination free, Uh, but it's kind of scary what's going on. So to actually see that printed on the milk carton that it's free of all these things, you go, okay, if it's not printed on any of these other cartons,
Mhm.
what's in that milk? You know?
Right.
So
I know. Well, we raise our own chickens to get fresh eggs because we eat a lot of eggs and for the protein and even that, like even because we raise them and we know what we're giving them, but then you still get scratch from, the local feed store down the way. Do we really know what's in that scratch and feed? So it's like you have to question and always prepare and give your body the things that we know work to support it in the way to work in the way God created it to work. Bottom line.
I look, and this doesn't come from a place of judgment. It comes from a place of, okay, if you're doing a certain thing because you're trying to accomplish a certain thing, but it clearly looks like that certain thing's not even actually working. Let's take the carnivore diet, for instance. Um, and look, if you're going to do something, you got to do it 100%, or why bother? I know people that are doing the carnivore diet, but they drink alcohol, or, they're having some other sort of carbohydrate that they think, okay, well, this isn't going to do any harm. Well, you've just negated the diet that you're on if you're adding any other thing other than the carnivore products. But and again, this is not judgment, but I know a lot of people on the carnivore diet that say they're doing it because, they want to be healthy, but they're also trying to lose weight, but they're not losing the weight. So what's that all about? Is it because of whatever is in the meat?
Mm.
Or, I know I did a ketogenic diet for 2.5 years, and oh my gosh, I damaged my body so bad on that diet. For 2.5 years, my husband and I did the strictest diet with keto. Um, I lost weight, but my body fat went through the roof. My cholesterol went up 100 points. Now, we'll talk about cholesterol on another topic because, for some reason, the medical industry has trained us to think that cholesterol is the bad guy, and it's not.
Right.
Um, but my doctor called, and so this was bad because it was solely related to my diet. But my doctor, after doing my blood work, called me at like 7 o'clock in the morning after getting the results, and he's like, Babbette, whatever that you're doing, stop, because your cholesterol has gone up 100 points. So just because there's a diet that is, trending or popular doesn't necessarily mean it's a healthy thing to do. Well, let's wrap this piece up. You guys were really excited. We are officially launching our podcast. Holy Spirit has been putting that as a call on our heart now for the last couple of years. And we just said 2026 is as good as any year to get this started. So
Absolutely. Well, we thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.